This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, but rocking a beautiful Toronto background behind me. Here on this October 10th, 2024, I will be in Toronto, traveling to Niagara Falls for Frightmare in the Falls at the end of the month.
Ooh.
But we're not here to talk about that today. We're here to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Phantom of the Paradise, folks. And I have one of the swan dancers on the show with me today. I've had her on 5 years ago. And despite this movie being 50 years old, my guest is 39.
Correct. Thank you.
Folks, I give you the absolutely lovely Saratoga Ballantine. How do you do,
Well, that's
Sarah?
Valentine. It rhymes with Valentine.
Valentine, I am
But
sorry. I am sorry. I do love that last name, though.
thank you. Well, it's a popular whiskey and also a beer. So very classy, elegant and classy.
Well, that describes you to a T.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so well.
You're
Flattery will get you
welcome.
everywhere. So thank
Well, yeah, yeah.
you.
Well, it was great to have you on here today, and I was talking to Gloria, who screw up her last name, Nazio, the other day from, of course, Phantom of Winnipeg,
Yeah.
Phantapalooza. I'm glad you two were able to touch base.
Thank you for doing that. Are you going to be at the Phantom 50th anniversary thing?
I've never been to it. I've never been to Winnipeg, but I would love to go. The problem is I'm going to be at Frightmare in the Falls that weekend for
Oh.
yeah, I'm in Toronto that weekend, so I won't be there, but I would love to. I think it sounds like an awesome event, and I'm glad they're keeping it alive. And she said Paul Williams and the Juicy Fruits are going to be there, so, and I've had a few people from Phantom of the Paradise on before, Jessica Harper's been on here before, Archie
Great.
Hahn and Peter Elbling from the band's been on here. I've had you, of course, and Janet Blythe, I understand was one of the groupies on the spinning bed. She
Oh,
she was in The Hills Have Eyes, brandishing the snake, and I had her on last year, and we talked a little bit about this. So I've done a fair view uh, uh, of Phantom talk on here. So what do you think? 50th anniversary of Phantom of the Paradise.
what is so amazing to me is how many people discovered it later. Like I remember when it opened, I was, young, but I didn't go. It was opening in Westwood, and I knew it was going to be a mob scene because it was Halloween and people in LA at least 50 years ago. Maybe now it's better. Halloween was sort of creepy. So I thought I'll avoid the crowd and I'll go the next day and see the
Mhm.
movie. And it really didn't get heralded at the time, and it didn't have the cult following that it developed later. So as the years went on, and it was like the 20th anniversary and the 30th, um, more and more people kind of found it. And that's what makes it, I think, so special today is that there's a whole new generation of people who found Phantom and are loving it because it really was ahead of its time. I mean, it was even before Rocky Horror, wasn't it?
Yeah, the year before, yep.
Yeah. So after Rocky Horror, which became, of course, a huge cult classic film, it almost achieved that status. I'm sorry, I'm talking a little funny. I have to keep this Invisalign in my mouth like 22 hours a day because my bite started shifting. Long story. You don't need it. But
Actually, you know what? I had a root canal um uh not too long ago, so I've had
you
issues with my teeth
understand.
too, so I get it.
Well, it's just who could have predicted that, things happen.
Mhm.
We all start falling apart in one way or another, whatever. Um,
Mhm.
But seeing the movie in retrospect, and I've done a couple of interviews now about the movie and the effect it's had on people, it didn't seem as important, or not as important, that's not the word. It didn't have the resonance that, since the Phantom of the Opera came out and people got to really know that story better, when the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical came out, you realize, oh my God, this is like Phantom of the Opera in the rock and roll world. I mean, it had just a lot of depth to it, and Faust, and of course, Brian De Palma's a genius. So,
Hmm.
what are you going to do there? And the look of it and the money they were able to spend. I mean, I lived in California and they flew me to Dallas, Texas, put me up in a hotel, meals. I mean, I don't know how long I was there. It was at least a couple of weeks. And we did huge crowd scenes. There wasn't AI. Those were actual people out there. Everything was real. And to hear Jessica sing, I just thought she was the most beautiful, wonderful, talented, coolest chick that we all wanted to be. It was a great time, all in all. So I'm so glad that the movie has found its it's almost camp, but like cult is nicer. That it's cult following. I'm happy to have been a little part of it. I'm happy to have been a part of anything, frankly, but this movie certainly had a great life, after it was originally done. So I
Yeah,
love.
1974. I would have been two that year when that came. I did see it at 2 years old, mind you, but uh, yeah, I discovered Phantom of the Paradise because I got a compilation video called Terror in the Isles,
Oh,
and it was hosted by Donald Pleasance and Nancy Allen, and had clips from a lot of horror movies on it, and
oh,
yeah, and I discovered a lot of horror movies through that. And so that's been a great resource for me. And of course, one of the clips they played from Phantom was, of course, the plunger scene that was a take on Psycho with Garrett Graham as
shower in the
the
shower with the shower cap on. Oh, and Garrett Graham, my God, what a talented, wonderful person. I loved him, and we stayed friends afterwards, and hung out a little bit, and I just thought he was hilarious. I mean, that was a total character. He's
yeah.
nothing like that, just everything was so great.
I hope he's doing all right. I heard this is going to be the first Fantapalooza he's going to miss because he's, I guess, having health issues. I've never had him on here. I would love to get him,
Oh.
but I've never had him on here yet. So,
Is he
uh,
living back east? He's not in LA. He must be back east.
I don't know, but I'd like I said, I would love to have him on here if he's ever open to it. He's done a lot of great stuff, and of course, I remember him best as Beef in Phantom of the Paradise, but he's done a lot of other great stuff too. And I
Yeah,
always found him to be funny, and he always stole his scenes. So here's wishing him well. So
absolutely. Gary, if you see this, I love you, miss you, love to see you. Have you had Susan Weiser on, Bill Finley's widow?
no, but I would love to get her too. That was somebody that Gloria had recommended. I haven't had her on. Because I do tribute interviews when people have passed away.
Oh,
Like I've
nice.
had I've had Alfred Hitchcock's granddaughter on here. Um,
Wow.
Audrey Hepburn's eldest son's been on here.
Wonderful.
I like doing that because obviously those folks are not around to do this. So having somebody come on that had a connection with them, especially family,
Yes, totally.
it's amazing.
You would
So
probably love this podcast. Josh Mills, who's a wonderful guy. He was the son of Edie Adams, but not when she was married to Ernie Kovacs, her next husband. He has a podcast called Rarefied Air, Heir, and he
mhm.
interviews children of celebrities. And My father was a magician and an actor named Carl Ballantine, who was on a series called McHale's Navy, but he did many, many, many TV shows. So he found me and had me on the show. And I've become a huge fan of the show because a lot of the children of celebrities I grew up with, we didn't think anything of our parents. They went to work. How involved are you in your father or mother's work? It didn't compute that, oh my God, you're doing a movie with Elvis Presley today, Dad. Have fun. Never occurred to me to go, hey, I'd like to go on the set. Oh, you're
Yeah.
doing a movie with Natalie Wood today? Well, have a good time. See you tonight for dinner. It didn't occur to me. And my mother too was an actress. She was in tons of things, but I could have met everybody, but I didn't even think like this. She was on the Monkees. She was on the Bewitched. She was on I Dream of Jeannie, all these old TV shows that I don't even know if they had in Canada. But
Oh, I remember.
do you? I mean,
Oh yeah, Barbara Eden, Elizabeth Montgomery,
all those people.
wiggling her nose.
Yeah. I mean, oh gosh. So, I mean, I my parents had their job. I went to school and I went
Hmm.
to my ballet lessons, my singing lessons, my acting lessons. You know what I mean? It didn't occur to me to jump into their world. Whereas now, children of celebrity usually are at every red carpet with their parents trying to get their own career. But that had not occurred at that time. So anyway, it's kind of a fun second generation thing. I friends with some of the other children of celebrities. And I was just lucky I never got into drugs or drinking. My parents were really normal and at home there was no show business. It was, do your homework and take your dance lessons and play with your friends. So had a very
Hmm.
normal childhood, except I wanted to be an actress since I was 3.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
So
been
you're going to,
living the dream, Greg. Living the dream.
I work as a cleaner here, I do overnight cleaning here. So I worked during the whole pandemic thing, I was never stopped. And I do this because I really enjoy it. It's really cool, rewarding, after cleaning, getting to talk to people from some of these movies that I really find cool. And you've done some cool movies. We'll get into the Nutty Professor a little bit momentarily. But I also got that here on Blu-ray, but I didn't dig it out. But nonetheless, um, I really enjoy this, and I'm really glad that you and Gloria got to connect. And
Thank you for
yeah,
doing that. She had a great time with you too. You're
yeah,
very easy to talk to, very easygoing. Yeah, she's lovely. I mean, I believe me, I wish I am going to look into flights and hotels and all that. I just don't think I can do it at the time. It's going to be November 2nd or something. I'm in a wedding. It's just the timing is
you're
just
getting
bad.
married, are you?
No, no, I'm not. I'm not.
Are you getting married to beef?
Yes, that wouldn't that be romantic? I went, you know what? We hit it off. We could we could have we dated a little bit after the movie was over. We did. Um the great love of his life, or at least what he told me at the time, was Cindy Williams. He really loved Cindy
Oh
Williams.
wow,
And I
yes.
know he had a big crush on Jessica Harper, but who didn't?
Who
I mean,
didn't?
she was just everything. I mean, I just loved her. Loved her so much.
I got her crappy cookbook here too.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, she's got a crappy cookbook. She sent me a couple autograph pictures. I'm gonna see if I can get her back on here because
You
I'd love to
should.
do Zoom with her.
She's sending a video, according to Gloria. She'll, at least she realizes, like a lot of people, and that was, I think, her first big movie. I know she did a lot after, but I think Brian kind of discovered her. Um,
Yeah, I think so. Out there
and
somewhere. Yeah.
I think she was grateful for that opportunity. I haven't seen her. I've seen her in some other horror movies. She
Oh,
was,
she's got one coming up. The reason I think she can't make it this year, and I told Gloria this, she's in a movie that's up for awards consideration this year called
oh,
Night. It's called Night Bitch.
Night Bitch.
Yeah, it stars Amy Adams, who
Oh,
turns into a dog. She's a
Is it
housewife.
Can or Con or however you say it?
Something like
Can.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I watched the trailer for it and I was like, oh, it's Jessica Harper. But yeah, it's called Night Bitch with Amy Adams, and
Oh, okay.
there's some awards talk in and around it. So
Great.
that's why I think she can't make it out, because I think there's even looking it up on, I don't know, is it Wikipedia or IMDb?
Rotten
But
Tomatoes.
yeah, well, I've heard it talked about before I even knew she was in it, you know.
Oh, cool.
So, Amy Adams is certainly a talent, but
Love her.
yeah,
Neat.
but yeah, it's night called Night Bitch, and
That's a
I thought it
funny
was
title.
I thought it was a werewolf type movie, but I don't know if it is. I just think she's got this weird ability.
Great.
But it should be interesting. But yeah, Jessica Harper's in that. So
Neat.
yeah. So no, I'm glad that I was able to connect you two. And when she was on here, Gloria, she had this beautiful 50th anniversary t-shirt on. I was like,
Oh,
wow, that is really cool. So
maybe I can get one of those. That might be a nice thing if I can get one of those t-shirts. We'll just have to see about that.
yeah, there you go. But I'm glad you two were able to talk, and they're gonna get a video of one of the swan dancers, so that's really cool too.
Yeah. I wish I could have that costume. I wish I could put on the costume again. I could rock it. I still can rock it.
I bet you can.
There's
I
one scene, where I dance in a green afro wig, right after I'm stitching Captain Beef up in the coffin and the black and white face. It was a
wow.
cut. And then I was in a green afro and a G-string, sparkly thing. I dance across the stage and he grabs my butt. It looks like one scene, but the black and white face thing took all day to do. And then the coffin had to elevate, remember?
Yep.
Or no, it
Oh
came in.
yeah.
Gosh, I'm on the far side, and I'm painted. And then I dance when he comes out like that last. I come out in this bikini and a green afro and dance, and he grabs my butt, and I do a little take. But it looks like one scene, but that was two different, maybe even a week apart. I don't know. I don't know how many times we did it.
I love that scene. And
It's
of
so
course I
fun.
told Archie Hahn and Peter Elbling, I said that was my favorite, because they appear in several musical numbers in the film, like as the Juicy Fruits and the Beach Buns. But I like it when they're wearing like the Kiss makeup and
Yeah,
uh,
that's the scene with the
oh
black and
wow,
white thing. Yeah. We
yeah,
need a man who is simple perfection. There's nothing that's harder to find. So
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah, and the
Where to
energy of
go?
Cary
What to
Grant.
do? Could it be somebody super like you? Yeah,
Yes,
really fun.
yes. Oh yeah, what a great scene in that movie. And they're Frankensteining them up, sewing them up. That was such a phenomenal scene. And even when Beef gets electrocuted, the
Oh,
watching his
yeah.
body
I had a close
movements.
up with my wig on, with my green
Mhm.
afro wig. Somebody gets screenshots of this stuff and they put it on Facebook or whatever so I could see it. I mean, not me specifically, but they do that. So I've seen a bunch of stills that all happen so fast, but today everyone knows how to do this stuff. I have no idea.
There you go. Yeah, and then Jessica Harper comes on there and she sings that beautiful solo.
Oh, so
Yeah.
gorgeous. I
I
have the
loved it.
songbook. I have the Phantom of the Paradise songbook.
Oh,
Yeah, they're
nice.
beautiful. Yeah, 'cause I sing. I sing. Yeah. I ran into Paul a couple weeks ago. I was having lunch on Sunset Plaza, and he was there with a bunch of people, and I wasn't going to disturb him. But then I thought, how often do I get a chance? I used to run into him with my dad. My dad was recognizable, so we all talked. But without my dad, I thought, oh, I'm going to have to remind him who I am. And he was so nice. And the only thing I didn't do was take a picture because I'm not in that head like everyone else is in the world that I needed, picture me and Paul. But it was great to see him. Now we follow each other on Instagram. So that's good.
Did he remember you as a swan dancer?
Oh, we hung out, during the whole shoot.
Yeah.
Because I was there. I mean, I did, like I said, those other scenes. I was there for a couple of weeks. The wedding scene was really the last thing we shot. Not
Hmm.
that we shot the whole movie in sequence, but that was the big finale. And we did wait to do that scene. No, but we hung out a lot. And I had known him from other movies. He did a movie called The Loved One, which is another cult film. You could look it up. He was a kid, but he did a
Yeah.
lot of other movies before, the songwriting and
And then
you know,
Smokey and the Bandit.
yeah, yeah, Smokey and the Bandit. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just been around, and I just think he's great.
Loved him even in the Muppet movie where he's performing
Oh
with
yeah,
Ralph the dog.
and such great songs. I mean, he really is a beautiful, brilliant song composer.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never had him on here either. I'd love to get him, but um I know he's been doing the convention scene a little bit, you know. I think he'd be wonderful to meet if I ever got the opportunity, but what a tremendous talent, not just on the screen, but also musically, you know. So
If I can ever get you two together, I will. I don't know how do people find this? Is this on YouTube or how would they find you?
this will be on YouTube and Spotify. I don't know when. I kind of get them logged. So, but I'll certainly send you a link so
Send
that
me a
you can
link
put,
and then
yeah,
I'll send it to Paul. I know he is going to Winnipeg, so I'll let him know that I did this and how much he would love to. I'm sure he'd do tons of interviews for the 50th. I think that would be something he'd say yes to, but we'll
yeah,
see.
yeah. But I find I always laugh that he played this character Swan and Phantom of the Paradise, and then in Smokey and the Bandit, Burt Reynolds is laughing at him.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, nonetheless, um, love Paul Williams. I think he's brilliant, and
He's brilliant and wonderful and so nice. He's so
yeah,
down to earth and just genuine.
absolutely, absolutely, and of course, and we mentioned Jessica Harper, whom I'm going to reach out to and try to get her on here again. I was so happy to get her on here once. She's got I can't remember the name of the ailment right now, but she had an
Want to get a picture of you.
wanted to get a picture of me.
I did.
There you go. That's okay.
No, this will
My,
help. So I can say I talked to you, and this is Greg. He's so darling and nice, and knows his research. He knows what he's talking about.
there you go. But nonetheless, um, Jessica has an ailment. I'm trying to think what was it the name of it. It was a rare disease that she and her brother has, and I
Oh,
remember, yeah, I remember I donated to it and made a donation, and I did it. And number one, the website got back to me and thanked me for my donation. And then
oh,
they
nice.
responded to me again, say, "Hey, we see that you did this in honor of Jessica Harper. We'll see that she gets it." And I was on my way to work, and I was stuck at a light, and my phone dings, and there's an email coming in, Jessica Harper, not only thanking me, but saying, "Yes, I'll totally do your podcast."
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
Really nice.
So I'll certainly make another donation to it again. I know it's on her website. Um, it's been a moment since I visited there, but um, I certainly have her Krabby cookbook and got a couple autographs of her. So I'm certainly willing to do that again and hopes get her on here. Um, so no, love Jessica and glad to see she's still working, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw her in a movie not too long ago either, playing somebody's mother. Can't remember the movie, but I went, God, that looks like Jessica Harper. And sure enough, it was. Like it's great to see her turn up.
Oh yeah, after Phantom, I mean, she did Suspiria and she was great in that too.
Yeah, no, I love that movie. And
Yeah.
then Woody Allen discovered her, and she was a great foil for him. So
Oh yeah. Yep, Woody Allen, yep. So and anyway, I'm going to take a wild guess and say you still keep up with your dancing. How often do you get to do that?
I do. I was just in a show. I did 29 shows in 1 week at the Magic Castle. There was a musical on Broadway in 1974 called The Magic Show.
Hmm.
And it was written around the magician Doug Henning, who at the time was like a young, hip, groovy magician who kind of brought magic back to the 70s, which was a politically difficult time. Vietnam War and America was kind of in turmoil, kind of like now, only then. And this Broadway show came out, and it really hasn't been done since. So this wonderful gal, Brandy LaPlante at the Magic Castle decided to produce a little mini tribute to that show and needed some people to sing and dance and fill in between the magic because I'm too big to fit in a box, guys. I can't be elevated, levitated, or cut in half. You have to be tiny. So, but they needed singer dancer types. So I auditioned and was thrilled to do it for a week. 3 shows a night, 6 on the weekends and crazy. And I did it. And, it wasn't super hard dancing. I mean, I wasn't on my toes or anything, but it was just so fun to be like a chorus girl at 100. You're counting. But yeah, no, it was super. Someone said to me, "Oh, you're like one of the June Taylor dancers. You won't even know who that is." But the Jackie Gleason show used to have these, they weren't Rockettes, they weren't, that good, but the June Taylor dancers were synchronized dancers. And so at this point in life, I can still pull it off.
I certainly am familiar with Jackie Gleason.
Are you? Okay.
Well, he was in Smokey and the Bandit, speaking of
Oh,
Paul
okay. All
Williams.
right. See, I never know from,
He
for
was he
me,
was he was Sheriff Buford T. Justice of Texas.
that is correct. That is correct. But, for my money, I figure you don't have to go back to the Stone Age to know the history of show business.
Hmm.
But I feel like it's part of my duty and to be an honorable union carrying card person to at least know 100 years ago what was going on. I mean, I
I
don't
go
know.
way back.
I don't need to know, in 1672 who was playing what, but 100 years ago I can handle easily enough. And movies have always been my thing, and I love show business and I love performers, and it's just always been in my heart. I don't know. It really didn't come from my parents. They were like, honey, do whatever you want. My sister didn't want to go into show business at all, and she's very successful and very happy. I don't know what brings some people to it, but I always wanted to be a performer and actress since I was a little girl. It just what I wanted.
100 years ago, Buster Keaton did Sherlock Jr.
Yes, and oh my God, I just saw a video of Buster Keaton dancing in the
Hmm.
street. Oh my God, so talented, so amazing.
Yeah, that came out in 1924. I know quite a bit about. I took a history of film class in
Oh, good,
university, so
good.
yep. So I'm very well versed uh, in the history of film, and I love movies of all types, old or new. So
We have a
so
channel here called Turner Classic Movies. Have you
uh,
have it there? I just
well,
have it on all the time, like the news. I just have it on all the time. Whether it's Mrs. Miniver or some
mhm.
Busby Berkeley musical or the dialogue is so delicious to hear. And I'd rather hear that than, the world's falling apart. So I just keep it on as about my backdrop. That's my backdrop.
Yeah, the world thought, don't get me into politics. Our current prime minister is, we need him
Mm. Oh,
gone.
really? He's got to go?
Yeah. I'm I'm voting for Pierre Poilievre for the next election. I mean, I'm not liberal or conservative. I vote for whoever is gonna screw my life up the least,
The least.
and
That's
Pierre
a good way
Paul,
to go.
yeah, and I'm not happy with Justin Trudeau.
Mm.
But Pierre Poilievre has got some really good policies. I'm hoping he stands by. I did meet him at a rally, so I like what he stands for. I don't want to turn this into politics, but I'll tell you, I wish people would stop fighting over who they're voting for, whether they're Trump or Kamala. It's stop ending friendships over who's like I don't like Justin Trudeau, but I'm not going to end friendships with anybody who votes for him. It's
Mm.
not my nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a toughie here. I'm going to vote today, actually. I'm going to do a mail-in ballot, so it's.
You want me to tell you a funny thing about Kamala Harris, though?
Oh, I'd love to here.
Okay, I'm seeing these memes a lot. I was a big wrestling fan in the 80s, and there was a wrestler named the Ugandan giant Kamala. And he wasn't from Uganda. He's from, I believe, Mississippi, if I remember correctly. But they did him up in the face paint and couple of stars painted on his chest and a giant moon painted on his belly. He'd come out with a handler. It's amazing for somebody who um, was was a savage going to the ring, hearing him actually talk because he's passed away now. He passed away
Hmm.
during COVID, but I guess when he wasn't wrestling, he was driving a truck or something like that. So, but when he went to the ring, he was convincing that he was a savage, and he was Kamala, the Ugandan giant. What I
Hilarious.
found funny, his real name was Jim Harris. So you've got a lot of these memes saying Kamala Harris, vote for Kamala Harris. They got Kamala, they got the giant.
Oh, it's
I,
hilarious.
I think that's funny, but his
It
real
is
name is Jim
funny.
Harris.
God. Well, maybe they're related somehow. Too funny.
Oh, I don't know, but I find that funny. But yeah, I get a chuckle out of that. But anyway,
You know who Chuck Liddell is?
I know the name.
I just did a movie with him, and I guess he's quite a famous wrestler. I didn't know, but I just did a movie called The Cowboy Killer with him. And then my
Oh,
sister said, "Don't you know who that is?" And I'm like, "No, he seemed really nice." And then she sent me all these pictures of him. He does wrestling.
I've heard that name before.
You have to look him up.
Yeah, I like wrestling from the 70s and 80s, and a little bit of the 90s. I don't follow as much today, although I think the women's wrestling is definitely highlighted today, and I think they've really come a long way. But um, but I've had a few people from wrestling on the show here,
Hmm.
yeah. But nonetheless, I was wondering uh what you can remember about that swan costume
Oh,
when
yeah,
you
no,
wore
it was
that.
great. Because I got to help a little bit with getting the dancers from, we went to SMU, had a big open dance call, and we put people through very simple paces because basically we're just walking around doing this. But no, it was just like a G-string with fur and then a headdress and then some kind of wings. Um, it was just, it was basically like a Vegas uh feathery showgirl costume.
I tell you, it looked great, especially the way De Palma shot
The
that,
way
where
he
they were,
shot it. Yeah.
yeah, what they were coming out there before Jessica Harper did, and
Yeah.
um, I love that moment, and the wings are flapping and this and that,
Yeah.
kind of like Black Swan with Natalie
Oh,
Portman.
which I just watched the other day recently. Boy, was that a good movie.
I
That
love
was
that
very
movie.
creepy, very sad, actually. It was very disturbing. I have a lot of ballerina friends, and they all
I
said
don't
that,
want to give away the ending, but the ending kind of reminded me of Sunset Boulevard,
yeah,
where
totally.
she goes, "I'm ready for my close up," you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah,
No, I totally agree.
yeah. But yeah, I love that moment. Talk about working with Brian De Palma, because as a filmmaker, I still marvel at his work, and I especially love his horror films. And this was certainly very different in his filmography.
Right. Well, this I think was in his early days, and I know that the two lead actors, well, not lead actors, but William Finley and Bill Shepherd, who was kind of the crazed fan at the end.
Oh, we're going to talk about him a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, they both had been actors in the Performing Garage, Richard Schechner's Performing Garage in New York, which was a very ultra modern, avant-garde theater company based on the teachings of Grotowski in Poland, who they'd all studied with. So Brian discovered Richard Schechner's Performing Garage, loved those two actors, and was determined that one day he was going to be doing something with them in it. And so that was the impetus of all that was very cool. Now, I happen to have been a student at Immaculate Heart College, which is now AFI. Immaculate Heart High School, Meghan Markle was a graduate, but the college went under. The sisters left the order and they lost a lot of money, and then AFI, American Film Institute, bought it. But when I was at Immaculate Heart, Brian De Palma came to our drama department and had seen Bill Shepherd, who ended up being the guy in the, okay, he was teaching theater arts. I was in his class. I was also kind of his girlfriend. And Brian De Palma came and wanted us to be in this movie. So that was really how that started. Now, being on the set and getting to know Brian, he's kind of a practical joker. But this was early. He'd only done one or two other, he went to Sarah Lawrence, I think, and had made that movie Sisters
Love
with
Sisters.
Margot Kidder and Jennifer Salt, right?
Yeah.
And maybe one other movie with
Oh yeah.
early Robert De Niro,
Yep.
something about a bunny or with a rabbit.
Oh, there was one Get to Know Your Rabbit. Yep, that was not with De Niro though.
Who was it?
Hi Mom was with De Niro.
Right, right, right. So, he done some movies, but I think he was passionate about the Phantom of the Opera and Faust and putting it into a modern context. And it was just so creative. But after that, I think after that movie, he got more mainstream. Hollywood came calling, and then he did more mainstream. Not super mainstream, but you know what I mean. Big budget Hollywood glossy thrillers, which were like his idol Alfred Hitchcock. So it all made sense.
Yeah, Dress to Kill was one of my favorites.
Such a great
Yeah.
movie. Such
Yeah.
a great movie. Where does Brian live? Does he live in Italy? I mean, where is he now?
I don't know. I know Gloria said he's never been to Phantom Palooza, so they're trying to get him to do a video. And he really should,
He
you
should.
know, because they're really keeping that movie alive.
I hope
Winnipeg.
he's proud of it. I mean, I think it is really. I find people more and more who come up to me and go, I didn't know you were in that. I love that movie. I'm very involved with the Magic Castle, and there's a
Mhm.
couple of members who, once they found out I was in that movie, forget any connection I have to magic. They're much more interested in knowing about Phantom of the Paradise. And we were going to have a party last year. Maybe we'll do it this year and screen it and have people over and have a big, Phantom of the Paradise reunion party.
There you go. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I love De Palma. I hope he does something for them because, like I said, Winnipeg, of all places, kind of kept Phantom of the Paradise alive, and that can't be ignored. And I hope that he would acknowledge that. So, yeah.
Would be really nice. I don't have any contact for him. I could try to reach
Mm,
out for him.
yeah.
Oh,
But nonetheless, William Shepard was brought up
yeah.
by Gloria, and what's interesting with him, uh, watching this movie, and I didn't think anything of it at the time, but you would see him. It's kind of like with Grease. Grease, you'd see a lot of the same backup dancers. And I remember when I interviewed Antonia Franceschi, who's a ballet dancer, and she was in Fame. And when I reached out to have her on for the anniversary of Fame, she sent me a thing with her biography and this and that for me to read up on her before the interview. And I was like, oh, she was a backup dancer in Grease. I didn't have to watch Grease again to know which one she was. She just had different color hair in Fame, but I was like, man, I remember there was a backup dancer in Grease that I thought was really, really cute. And it was her, and she verified it when I brought it up.
Mm.
So, in Phantom of the Paradise, I see William Shepard. I didn't know who he was, but it always stood out to me at the end of the movie, which I won't give away, but of course, people probably by now should have seen this, but still, out of respect for the film, I won't give it away. But when he's crawling along the floor with the Phantom and all these other people gathered around, and he's right down there close with him, and then when things are starting to simmer down, he's kind of slowly rising to his feet, and it's like this notion of, do you know what just happened? Or did this just happen? And then finally he just kind of does that little spin and twirl thing, like, okay, I'll go along with this.
Oh, I
Maybe it's part of
feel
the show.
it's incredible what he did actually, because I felt like all of a sudden he became a star. That by his worship of his fan, his fanhood to his idol, that all of a sudden he was gone and now he was taking on the
Yeah.
star persona, even when he throws his shirt up at the end. I mean,
I
it's
love that.
very significant. And Brian really caught it. I mean, I don't think Bill ever did the same thing twice. I think every time it was a little different. And what ended up being was so powerful. That really comes, I hate to say this, from a theatrical training. And also a comfort level of who you're working with. He and Bill were close. Bill were close. And Brian and
Hmm.
trust. And there was just that room allowed, and he caught it. He caught that moment. It's remarkable, I think.
Well, I understand he has passed away now, but
Yes, it's so sad. He was a Christmas baby. He was born on Christmas.
oh
And
wow.
yeah, he died, I guess it was 2 years ago now.
Well, he passed away. He was alive when I had you on here before, and when I
I
had
know.
Glory on here before. And but I never did get a response from him, but I am going to see if I can get his widow on here to come on here and chat about him. So, because I'd kind of like to get into his psyche and what he was all about.
Yeah, he
Because
was a wonderful, wonderful actor and a wonderful teacher. He had a wonderful, interesting career after fandom. He was in the gorilla suit in the King Kong with Jessica Lange.
Lane, yep.
He and Rick Baker kind of shared that. And then he did this other cult film, Death Race 2000,
Oh,
Roger
okay, yep,
Corman movie. So
yep.
he was able to, parlay. it into a little bit of that. But then he was really an academe, he could teach so much theater and beyond, but he ended up, becoming lauded as a teacher at the University of Washington, and anywhere he went, he was pretty lauded. He was great at Immaculate Heart too. He changed a lot of our lives, mine too, definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I love this movie, and we definitely got to celebrate its 50th anniversary. What heck can you believe that? 50 years.
I know I think it's incredible. And even for me personally, luckily I was very young, but still, when you think about 50 years ago, it's
I
pretty
would have been
daunting.
two.
Yeah, I know you've said that, and thank you very much. Good for you. But no,
Oh, I would have
kidding.
been too, but I'm going to tell you, you're probably healthier than me because I've been like
Oh,
falling apart since 51. I've been starting to like fall apart. I had a retina
oh.
operation back in January. I had a root canal. I'm like,
Root canal's nothing. The retina thing, what happened to your retina? Is it from not wearing sunglasses?
no, what happened? As I got to work. I remember it was January the 10th. I don't know why I know that, but it was January the 10th. I noticed some black spots across my right eye.
Wow.
And I was at work doing an overnight, and it was distracting, but it didn't keep me from doing my work. Anyway, I called an eye doctor about it, and he said, it'll go away. It's just an age thing. So I was like, oh, okay. It's interesting because exactly 10 days later, the 20th, I was at my brother's apartment. I left there and I went to the same location to do a clean. And when I got there, it was like uh 75% of my vision was like a black curtain like thing over that eye.
Whoa.
So I contacted the eye doctor and they looked at me and they said I had a retina tear. So um, I had to go to Halifax for Halifax, Nova Scotia for a retina operation. Now, here's the thing with that. I've never been to Halifax before, but uh, the following day, of course, I sleep during the day because I work at night. So I was in bed and my phone rings about 8 o'clock in the morning. This was the day after. And they say, Greg, we need you to get to be in Halifax, which would have been 4.5 hours away by 1 o'clock for a retina operation. And I said, I can't be there in 4.5 hours on such short notice. I said, number one, if you don't want me driving, that's going to become a problem. He said, don't you have somebody to drive you? And I said, well, probably me, my younger brother, but he would have an obligation to his employer to leave on such short notice.
Wow. Wow.
So I called my brother. I told him about it, and he said he couldn't leave that day because he was at work. So he said, tell them Friday. So I called them back and I said, Friday. And they said, okay, Friday's good. You'll be in for your consultation. And I said, no. I said, if we drive 4.5 hours down there, we do consultation and then we do the operation. I said, I'm not going back and forth
Oh
several
God.
trips.
Good for
Yeah.
you.
So we did it the Monday. Monday we did the consultation. Tuesday morning we did the operation, and it was surprisingly painless. But what I had done prior to it is because I listen to a lot of stuff in my earbuds when I'm working, and I was listening to accounts of people who had it done to give me an
Mhm.
idea because I was a little nervous about it, but really wasn't painful. It was just uncomfortable. But anyway, I had it done, and surprisingly painless. They don't put you under for it, and got it done. And I was back to work that night.
Wow.
I
Great.
was told I should take a week off. I was like, if I don't work, I don't get paid. So they said,
Right.
just don't lift over 10
Anything
pounds.
heavy.
So
Yeah.
I was fine with that, but um, it's not 100%. And they said it won't be the same as it was before, but I can see you out through this better than I could back in, say, January, you know. So
Okay.
yeah. And then
Wow. What a story. Wow. And no reason. There was nothing that inexplicably this happened. You felt like, I mean, oh God. Yeah, all these things can happen. Just amazing.
then after that I had to have the laser thing, whatever it is there on the eye a couple months after. And again, painless. And I got that done here, thank goodness. But yeah, I it's been a year.
Oh, God. Well, may 2025 be gentler and kinder to you and your body. I know. I remember once my computer went out and I called some IT guy and I said, I don't understand it. Yesterday it was working fine and today nothing. And he goes, well, you know how one night you go to sleep and the next day you wake up coughing and you have the flu? He goes, that's like what happens. You know, everything's fine one day and you never know. It's just it's a miracle where our bodies, everything. It's all a miracle that everything functions, and I can bend my fingers, and I think it's all amazing because it can go in a second.
It reminds me of yesterday. Um, my coworker, my overnight coworker, was hungry, so she went to McDonald's to our McDonald's is open all night, so she went to grab something to eat. But she said, "Do you want anything?" So she brought me back a hamburger and a milkshake. And at the end of the night, she said, "I cannot finish my milkshake." Said, we can either throw it out or you can have it. So I said, well, I said, I'll put it in my fridge and I'll have it later. So anyway, she was not feeling the best at the end of the night. And I don't know whether it was that milkshake, but when I got home, I put it in the fridge, I got a shower and this and that. And before I brushed my teeth, I drank it. It was a little more thicker at that time. So as I drank it, and I went to bed, felt fine. But yesterday, I woke up, I had the shivers, my leg joints were on fire, I had a headache. I was curled up in a ball, and I was like, "What happened?" And I managed to turn on my electric blanket so I could get warm. And then I had to run to the bathroom quick and throw up in the toilet.
You had food poisoning,
Yeah,
at
because
least,
the color of the vomit was the same color as that milkshake.
and it was from McDonald's.
Yeah.
You could have a lawsuit, or she could.
Well, I'll tell you, we were talking about this last night because neither one of us felt the best last night, but we went to, here's the funny thing, because I had three locations I was have to do clean last night, two small ones and my overnight. One of the small ones I got to do tonight because I just couldn't
Couldn't do
get to
it.
it. The second one, I called my supervisor and I told her the situation. And I said, I'm going to try to do this, but I'm just letting you know. I, she said, told me to take a COVID test just in case.
Oh boy. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. I was able to drive to work last night, so I knew it wasn't that
Mm-hmm.
because I never had COVID,
I mean, me
but
neither.
yeah, I
Knock
never
on
got
wood.
it. I worked through the whole thing, but here's the deal. If I had it, I would have been worse. I wouldn't have not have been able to drive to work. So I drove to work last night. I got one location cleaned, and then I went to my overnight building and had to take some Advil, and so did my coworker. But we got through the night, and I feel a lot better today. I slept well anyway.
Good.
So, hmm So that was speaking of situations with your body.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
1 minute you're feeling great, the next minute it's like, what the hell happened?
So yeah, so whatever, I don't know what was with that milkshake, but
Was not good. Not good.
in yep, something was up with it. But anyway, uh let's talk a little bit about the Nutty Professor because
Oh, sure.
I remember seeing that at our old Twin Cinemas across the river that's no longer open, but we got that movie late. I know it came out June. I remember it opened in the States with opposite striptease. I find it funny, the dynamic, the Nutty Professor striptease. To very, you got Demi Moore, who's in such shape in that movie, and you got Eddie Murphy as Sherman Klump,
Getting
who's
bigger and bigger. Well,
imagine that on a billboard. But nonetheless, we got Nutty Professor like August that year. I don't know why we were so late getting it, but my younger brother and I went to that, and I remember this so well because we used to sneak food in the theater, and we just loaded up our backpacks and we snuck food in. Our stomachs were aching by the end of that movie because we ate so
it's so
much. And I'm going
funny.
to tell you that table scene didn't help matters for us because we
So
laughed
freaking
so hard it
funny.
hurt.
Yeah, that was great.
But you were a nurse in one of the dream sequences.
I was the nurse when he very first blew up. I was the head nurse when he was in the hospital blowing up, and I screamed, "Let me out of here! I need to get out." I forget exactly what I said, but then I ran out of the room because it was so terrifying as he grew. But we got to spend a fun day together, and the casting director, Alita Chappelle, was
Mhm.
a actual friend of mine, and she said, "Sarah, I have a day for you on the Nutty Professor if you are available." I'm like, "Available, of course. I'd love to do it." So yeah, I got to spend that day with Eddie, and he was really fun to work with. And the director, whose
Tom
name is
Shadyac.
sorry,
Tom
Tom
Shadyac, yeah.
Shadyac.
Shadyac.
What a neat person. Now, I understand he's kind of gone off the grid, but it was great working with him. I got to work with him again. I did the table read of Liar Liar because
Hmm.
Jennifer Tilly couldn't be there or something. So anyway, I got to be around him twice, and then I guess he kind of left the Hollywood machine and went off to the desert and, had a whole other journey. But yeah, that was a great fun movie and great experience and had a wonderful, wonderful time. One of those iconic things again where, I've done little things, but they resonate with people. Like even the Spider-Man cartoon, all these years later, now the people's kids are watching it. You're Mary Jane, so it's like a whole new generation can find you if you stick around long enough.
Well, what I find interesting with the Nutty Professor, it's one of those remakes that actually really counted. And
Yeah.
I'm not a big remake person, but if somebody can make, like, I really enjoyed the 1978 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That I
Hmm.
actually get to attend a screening of that this summer. With unfortunately Donald Sutherland had passed, and he was in that. But I loved that one. And but the Nutty Professor I thought was better than the Jerry Lewis one, and I'll tell you
Really
why.
fun. Okay.
Well, the Jerry Lewis one I watched once, and I could not understand why the Jerry Lewis character was a professor. Because I mean, he's in the office talking to the dean, and all this wacky stuff is happening, falling out of his pockets. It's like who hired this guy? Whereas with Eddie Murphy's Sherman Klump, I can understand why he was hired.
Hmm.
There was something very genuine. Like Eddie Murphy's under all this makeup, but I mean, again, the great Rick Baker. But I
Yeah.
mean, it's under all this makeup, and yet you see a lot of humanity in that character, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed what he did with that. And Eddie, of course, is brilliant, especially that around the table where he's playing several different characters, you know?
Yeah, so talented. Oh my gosh. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I gotta say too, like I mean, Jada Pinkett I really liked in it, and Larry Miller with his one-liners, very underrated. Larry Miller.
He's very funny. I know. I did
Yeah,
another movie with Larry Miller. Oh, it was from 1990 with Shelley Long.
Frozen Assets.
That's right. Frozen Assets.
That's funny because I got your IMDb up here, and I said, ah,
Oh,
there's one I gotta ask you about. Yeah.
yeah, Larry Miller was great. Oh, Shelley was so wonderful. It was so much fun. That was another one out of town. I think we shot it in Oregon. Yeah, that was really great. And I got to work with Terry Copley. Gosh, yeah, that was a long time ago too. I've done these things, and then I feel like Frozen Assets was ahead of its time too, because we didn't even really know that much about sperm banks and how that
Hmm.
all worked. It was really great, really fun. Shelley Long is one of the most brilliant comedic actresses. I think she's very underrated too. Just so funny, and one beautiful, wonderful.
What's she doing nowadays? It's been like so long since I've seen her in anything. I remember her in
Yeah.
Caveman
Well,
before she did
she was
Cheers.
on Modern Family for a while. She played Ed O'Neill's first wife before. Did you watch Modern Family?
Actually, it's funny you say that because my TV, I don't watch television. I just got it set up to watch my Blu-rays.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm aware of what Modern Family is, but I wouldn't know that. So
She was in that. Not regular, but a lot. Played Ed O'Neill's first wife. And then I heard she's got a movie or something coming out soon, but
okay.
it's been a while. I'm looking forward to seeing her in whatever she does.
Oh, yeah, Garrett Graham's in this as well.
Yeah, Garrett Graham was in that too.
I think he was following you.
No, it's funny how certain people of a time, we were all kind of in that same groove of knowing people. It's funny.
Well, I'll tell you somebody I have met from that movie. I haven't had him on the show, but I met him at the Toronto Comic Con was Corbin
Corbin
Burson.
Burnson, what a darling person. Oh my God. And he really got it honest. His mother was a wonderful actress too. Different last name, but his mom was on Young and the Restless for years.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, he wonderful, darling
I'll tell
person.
you the story with Toronto Comic Con. I thought everybody was fine, but there were two standouts there.
Oh,
One was John Rhys Davies from Raiders of the Lost Ark, always asking everybody what they did. And I remember when I met John Rhys Davies, when we did our photo together, put his arm around me and went like this into my side to get me to react in the photo.
that's great.
um, I enjoyed meeting him, but Corbin, I didn't know what to expect. But when I met him, he had just learned from his handler how to do selfies. And he was like, hey, I'm a selfie expert now. I want to do more of these. Grabbing his handler, it's like, let's do more of these.
Oh, that's so fun. That's great.
He was really enjoying himself, and I enjoyed meeting him. So yeah, he was a delight.
Were you ever a fan of the TV show Night Heat?
I remember that was back in the 80s, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember it, but it's faint in my memory. But yes, I do remember.
Just curious. One of my old boyfriends who was Canadian ended up going back to Canada to do that show, Scott Hylands. Have you ever
Okay,
interviewed him? He
I
was the
haven't.
he was the lead on it. Yeah, it had a big cult following too. It was more like a cop drama show in Canada, but
I
yeah,
think if I remember correctly, wasn't there? I could be confusing it with the show Christopher Plummer was involved in.
oh, he wasn't on this.
I know Night Heat, but a lot of these blend together for me. I'd have to look it up, but I know that title, and I probably have seen it. So
Check it out if you like.
Yeah.
It's fun.
You were in my all-time favorite sitcom, though.
Which was,
Married with Children.
oh, so great. Yeah, that was so much fun too. They're all fun. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a job where I went, I hated that job. No, they're always wonderful. Ed O'Neill, when I just did this thing called Clipped about Donald Sterling and the Clippers, which is a basketball team.
Hmm.
I said to him, I've worked with you 3 times. And he went, you have? I said, yeah, I was in Married with Children, I was in Modern Family, and now I'm in this. And he laughed because, he's worked with hundreds of actors. You know how many years Married with Children was on, right? And
11
then how many years
seasons.
Modern Family was on? 12, another 12, and now so he's worked with thousands of actors. So I had to like really help him remember the episodes that I did, and he did. He was very nice, very nice. Yeah, I had a great time working on that show. That was a super fun day.
Actually, my correction, it was 10 seasons. But yeah, I watched Married with Children growing up just
The
every
writing is
night.
so good. Yes.
And I gotta say, I'm really wishing Christina Applegate well. I know
Oh no, she's
I
struggling.
interviewed Lisa Hoyle, who's a stunt woman,
Oh,
and she said her favorite person to double for was Christina
yeah,
Applegate.
but she just seems like an incredible person, and I love her. I love her, and I will. ALS is a horrible thing. I just hope that they find a cure for it. I have another dear friend struggling with it. It's
I think she had MS.
oh maybe she has MS, ALS, MS.
Oh,
They're very similar in that if
well, I lost my dad to ALS
so
in
sorry.
2022. He had it for 8 years.
That's amazing. That and wow. How did it progress? I mean, did it just go easily till
Yeah,
the 8th year?
my father worked for the telephone company here for 30 years. And then when my grandfather was operating a spring water plant, and when dad retired from the telephone company, my dad just couldn't just retire. My dad was a workaholic, so he went to took over the spring water plant,
Mm.
and I worked at the spring water plant for 19 years. And um, he got ALS, I think it was 20, well, what was it? Yeah, 2014, I think, because he noticed that um, anytime he'd go to talk, he'd end up doing a cough or something like that, and his speech was getting a little slurred. So he didn't think much of it, but mom encouraged him to go to the doctor, so he went and discovered he had ALS. And I remember my first trip because I'd lived here my entire life, and a Canadian actress invited me to assist her at a horror film convention in 2017. So it was my
Mm.
first time away from New Brunswick. So I was happy that my father and mother drove me to the airport because that way I could leave my car at their place and not do the airport charges.
Mm.
But I was glad Dad got to see me off. But Dad had ALS for 8 years. It was miserable, but Dad was uh, one of the strongest Christian men that I know.
Mm.
And I remember one of the things that stood out to me when it got to the point where he couldn't speak.
Mm.
He was trying to get a message to one of the caregivers. She had put a Kleenex box on top of the Bible, and he was trying to get a point out to her to get the Kleenex box off of the Bible. And I was like, he kept his faith right to the end. And I
So
thought that
beautiful.
was wonderful, and it stood out to me because I belong to the Christian faith as well, although I haven't gone to church in years. But
Okay.
but nonetheless, that's what I believe in. But to keep your faith and keep strong in your faith during that kind of crap, it's it's amazing. And Dad was one of these people in the wintertime. He'd get up at 3 in the morning in the wintertime and plow driveways.
Wow.
Like, and he wouldn't charge a cent. It's just something he did. Dad thought about other people, and it's something that I've been wanting to carry on myself. I haven't done it nearly as well as him. But the fact that I went to work last night after what I was feeling,
Yeah,
that sounds like a dad move, you know?
that's beautiful. It
Yeah.
is.
So dad had ALS. It was not fun for him, but yeah, for 8 years, and usually I hear it's usually five people.
Was he at home and able
Yeah.
to? That's amazing. My dear friend has been in the hospital for like a year because it affected his lungs and his breathing and his hands, and I can't walk. I mean, it's been one thing after another the past year, and is my childhood friend. So I go see him as much as I can. And sometimes now he can talk a little bit, but I know that's not forever. So I want to take advantage of it. But I know that must have been hard. And I guess from your dad, you gained this wonderful work ethic. So it's
Well,
commendable.
dad didn't want to die in a hospital. He wanted to die in his home. Um, so that was the deal with that. But yeah, it was not fun, but I saw him the morning before he passed.
Oh, good. Good.
Well, my my younger brother had messaged me and said, if you're going to see dad, go see him. He's not going to last the week. And at the time I was working another job
Mm,
and I was on call a lot, so I didn't make it in, but he survived the week. And I would say it was sometime after that, my brother messaged me again. He said, you better go see dad.
mm,
So there was one morning, and I remember it was April 4th, 2022. I said, you know what? I'm going to go see dad. So I did my overnight. I drove out to see dad. And his eyes were open. He had a pinky finger that was twitching. I know he could hear me, but I got to tell him a lot of
mm,
stuff, including the whole Kleenex box and the Bible thing. And I told him that I noticed stuff like that. And I said, you're going to be with Jesus soon. And I told him how, what an example he set for me,
mm.
you know? So I got to tell him I loved him. And
Beautiful.
I went to I worked at the hospital at the time cleaning. Um, and I remember when I got off work, I turned my phone on. There was like a half dozen messages from my brother telling me to answer my phone, and I knew what it was. You know,
Oh,
dad had passed away just after 12 midnight on or may was it 12 midnight or 2 a.m.? I don't know. It was somewhere no, but would have been after 12 because I got off work at 12. So it was about when I got home. My brother said he had passed away he made it into April 5th, 2022, and passed away. And so I was glad I saw him that morning, you
oh, for
know?
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Good.
So it was hard. Mom is
Oh,
still with
yeah.
us, but mom's got Parkinson's and you know,
Oh,
so
man, well, it's good that you know what? It's really good that you have this show because it gets to keep your
mhm.
world expanding even while there's a base note of a lot of, it's only made you probably a more sympathetic, empathetic host. an interviewer because you know we're not here forever, and you have
No.
a sense of timeliness of life, and that things are they may seem infinite, but they're not. So.
And of course, my cat's over there asleep, but Dad left me the cat.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you have your dad's spirit animal kind of. You
Well, I lived in my childhood home for 47 and a half years. And I wasn't one of these guys living in the basement doing nothing. I was working, but Dad said, as long as I need a place to stay, you can stay here. So I lived
Right.
with my folks for 47 and a half years. But when Dad got ALS and stairs became an issue, they moved into my grandparents' old house, which had less stairs.
I see.
And I remained at the house. We had to sell it, of course, but my younger brother would fix it up. And I remember Dad saying to me, he said, they're going to keep the Australian Shepherd because they were really close with the Australian Shepherd. But he said, we're going to have Skittles stay with you so you'll have company.
Mm.
But I know what he was really saying. He was like, having two pets is too much for us, and we know Skittles would have a good home with you. And I'm
Oh.
more a cat person, so Skittles is not paying any rent here.
I love cats, but I'm allergic. But I have a cat that visits me in the back. Just comes around, scratches on the back door, and I give her something to eat, and sometimes she stays around. But I can't have her in the house, Greg, or I go bonkers. Listen, I have to stop at 12:30.
That's
I
okay.
obviously we could talk all day. Maybe we should do another interview, but
Actually, you know what? I didn't have much else to go into,
oh, okay.
Yep,
Good, good.
Phantom of the Paradise, Nutty Professor, Frozen Assets, yeah, I know we got into a little bit of a tangent there at the end, but you know what? You mentioned ALS, and like I said, I can kind of relate to that. So,
Yeah, I mean that's really heavy duty. I'm sorry, you know, your poor dad went through that. I don't understand it. It's one of
mhm.
those strange things that when it hits you, I mean, you have no history in your family of that. I mean, it's just bizarre. So, but it's just made you kinder, stronger, and your dad's spirit is in you, and you've got his cat too. So
I got a kitty. He's over there asleep because he's that ambitious.
well, I'm going to try to figure out something fun to send to the Phantom 50th anniversary tribute. And thank you so much for reaching out to me. I wish I could put on my crow costume for you and do something for
Well,
your listeners or your watchers. Do people watch or do they listen, or is it both?
both.
Oh, okay.
Both, you
Cool.
know, I'll have the audio and video up on Spotify. And the video will also be up on YouTube, so
Okay.
I'm looking on getting some other platforms, I'm just kind of
Good.
learning this whole thing.
Do you
But
do any editing or do you just keep it whole as is?
very little editing. I'm not really great at that.
That's
But
okay. I'm just curious.
yeah, I'm not really that good at it. I will if I'm put on the spot about it, but it's not the easiest thing for me because I'm not that tech savvy. But
Hmm.
but I usually for the most part guests have a good time on here and they know they're treated with respect on here. So
I
yeah.
felt very respected.
Yeah. Well, I'm very happy that you get to connect with Gloria and
Thank
we've
you for
been
doing that.
yeah, no problem, no problem. And of course, we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Phantom of the
Phantom of the Paradise.
Paradise.
We're old souls in a new life, baby. It gave us a new life. Yeah, so wonderful. Go see the
Absolutely.
movie again. Go watch it again with friends and have a great time.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Sure.
Just state your name and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise. And if you want to mention Phantom of the Paradise celebrating its 50th anniversary, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Saratoga Ballantine. I'm here with Greg Gilbert's Python's Paradise, and we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Brian De Palma's Phantom of the Paradise. And I hope you get a chance to either go see it or go celebrate it at the big event. Thanks for paying attention.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Gloria, for
Thank
allowing me the
you.
honor.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Gloria. All right. Well, listen, you take good care of yourself and we'll be in touch. I look forward to seeing the link and sharing it and telling more people. And then I got to come up with something cute for that video. Okay.
Yes, and keep dancing.
Thank you. I think it's important. Thank you so much,
Absolutely,
Greg. All right. Take
absolutely.
good care.
God
Bye.
bless you. Keep dancing. Bye bye.
Swan, swan, swan.